Alrighty. Hello out there in Packer Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Absolute Packer Podcast. We are on episode 70. Pretty remarkable. Our staying power is exceptional. You know, we to make it 70 episodes. That is pretty cool. You know, I must say. But
even though we can't move the ball, we're intent on running it.
I was going to say for hitting the big 70 mark, you really wish there would have been a better game to watch. But as they say, you play the team that's in front of you, and a win is a win on some levels. But man, that was it wasn't a very entertaining game to watch. But before we get into that, I'm Andrew Hetzel. With me, as always, Elliot Christensen, Jeremy Hautala. What's up, boys?
Hey,
hello.
All right,
I hate to sound like a downer when it's a W, though. You know, so it is. But I mean, I don't feel differently. I really don't, because
no, I don't either.
We were kind of like we were not ahead most of the game, really. So I'm like,
no, I think, you know, to that point, it's like at the end of the game when I was kind of starting to compile some notes, I'm like, what did we learn? I mean, what are we about this team? It's like, if anything, there's more questions than there are answers. Answers. More questions than there are answers. The weirdest thing is they seem to just completely lack juice playing at home. And it's happened a couple times this year, obviously, but it's happened more than a couple times in LaFleur's tenure. It's just weird every now and then when you see him get up there and he's like, yeah, we don't have any energy. We came out really flat, you know, and he takes ownership of it. He's like, yeah, it's on me. But I'm like, buddy, that's like 6 games in your tenure in 2 years where you've had flat, listless. I mean,
well,
before I get ahead of myself too much, I mean, it's a weird season. You got COVID, you got no fans in the stands, you got all these kinds of things. I get that. But at the same time,
really a home game.
Yeah. I mean, but every team's, for the most part, some fans have like maybe 5 or 10,000 fans, but for the most part, every team's in the same boat. It's not like we're the only team that has to face these kinds of things. And it's just weird when you have a home game and maybe it is the crowd thing, you know, as I'm sitting here talking about it, it's like, how can you have a lack of juice at a home stadium?
Because the weather sucked.
Yeah, the weather was great if you were a freaking Moose.
Yeah, the weather sucked, and they did have a few extra days, and I think coming off of a few extra days, I think this has kind of been a trend where they've been a little lackluster. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, when they had the longer layoffs, if you will, because they had the Thursday night game, so it was 10 days instead of 7.
Right.
That's when they seemed to, you know, stub their toe,
just out of their rhythm.
Just the energy thing, which is, again, it's just weird. But energy. Yes.
But have you ever been in Lambeau Field when it's empty?
Well, and that was
I have not.
That was going to be my point, was the fact that there are no fans. I think this team needs some extenuating circumstance to kind of get them juiced up. And I think the lack of fans kind of contribute to this lackluster, lack of emotion persona that this team is exemplifying at this point.
I mean, I think we'd be lying if we said there's not something to that. But there's also that part in the back of my mind going, boo, F who.
Well, right.
You're making millions of dollars. You know, I guess some of this you have to create your own juice, you create your own energy, but
you know, I say that a lot too. I say that more than average, right? You know, like when I'm going on a
for instance, Mason Crosby.
Yes, I was going to say when I go on a Mason Crosby rant, right? But the other team, they're getting paid well too. So like if we look at like, all right, you know, we have a baseline of everybody's getting paid well. Everybody's got to bring a baseline of energy. What's the thing that brings you over the top, right?
Yeah.
You know, I hate to say this, but I think back to 2017, the Arizona game.
Where McCarthy got fired.
Where we got fired. That team just showed that lack of whatever it is. And this game just kind of brought me back.
Felt like that.
It brought me back. It had this feeling of inevitability to it. You're like after, I would say, the first quarter, I mean, look, I was like, we're going to lose this game. I'm like, this is just, I'm like, this looks like a complete, which again, we eked out a game, but yeah, it did have shades of that. Wait a minute. That was 2018, Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, you said 17, but that was the game where McCarthy got fired, right?
Yeah, sorry.
After that, yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say I was in a coma in 17, so there'd be no chance.
There were no games that year.
And by the way, Jeremy, who is at like the It's a Small World ride in Disney World, apparently, according to his video background.
I'm trying to be in a happy zone right now, and that helps.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I got my tried and true Alex Gray psychedelic tool poster behind me, so I'm always good there.
Love it.
Did you see what I named the episode? Lots of lethargy, but no energy.
Yeah.
Them's the breaks.
Says it all. I think this game to me really shows the true identity of this 2020 team. And that's a scary thing, because if I go back and I look at the first loss to Tampa Bay, that was kind of like a yellow light. The second loss against Minnesota was like the red light was coming on. It was like just, you were waiting to go across the intersection, but it didn't want to turn red yet. This game turned red for me, and it's a concerning trend for me. I don't know about you guys, but if you can't get up for any opponent, I don't care if they're 1-7, you have no business playing the NFL. Like and you have to question that. It sounded like LaFleur really got after the team in the press conference, post game press conference.
He's made no secret of throwing his own team under the bus in press conferences,
and he had to.
I admire,
Right. I think this is really a telltale moment where I think the leaders really need to kind of grab this team by the horns and say, "Hey, we got to go," and the coach needs to be able to instill that that shot in the dark, let's get going type thing, and LaFleur hopefully has started something, and the veterans are going to take over. It's telling to me also that the Packers player rep for the league was Aaron Rodgers. He is not anymore.
Who is it?
Mason Crosby. Elliot.
Oh, making them big bucks.
Yeah, and there's two other players that I can't think of off the top of my head.
I would have put that in a meme. Elliot was like, he had to digest it. Then he's like, really? It took a full 5 seconds to digest what just happened. Then he's like, we're going to have to do something about this.
I like Mason Crosby.
I know.
Out of all the people on the team, I'd probably like to hang out with him the most.
I know. He does seem like a great guy.
But that's a lot of money.
I know. That was funny, though. I was watching you when that was happening. You were like, really?
It's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking, too, that if my memory serves me correct, after the 49er blowout playoff loss last year, they said the same thing after that. There were some players that said they had a hard time getting up for that game. And I'm like, you had a hard time getting up for the NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl? Again, this wasn't the NFC Championship game, but I do remember that. And I'm going, what in the world kind of comment is that?
I don't know if it was so much that, but I think they went in that game defeated. They just knew they couldn't.
Yeah, I was going to say within the NFC Championship, I think within 10 minutes of that game, they're like,
we're done.
I know they were like, in the first quarter, they're like, we have no shot.
Where are the fish tacos?
And speaking of first quarters, this is the first quarter this year the Packers have not scored.
Not only that, I had this in the notes. This was the first time they had not scored on their opening possession all game. They went 3 and out. Ugh. Yeah, it was, and that was, that's kind of like foreshadowing for the rest of the game. After you saw that, you're like, ugh. So yeah, I can. We've already kind of touched on some of the overarching themes here, but I can hop into the notes here specifically. So we did talk about just that. That was my first bullet. And then I said the Jags took a 3-0 lead, which again, I think the Packers were favored by 13.5 coming into this game. And you're like, any lead that the Jaguars are going to have, especially early, I was like, that's not a good sign. But then he hit that bomb to MVS for, I can't remember how long it was, but it was a touchdown. And actually MVS had some pretty good moves on that.
78 yards.
Yeah, he had, because I think the previous version of MVS might catch that, but he's not scoring. He actually put a couple of decent moves, and then the ref got taken out of the play too.
That contributed
but nonetheless,
to the touchdown.
I would agree. But MVS actually had a pretty good game. He was
his best game of his career.
Few bright spots because there was that interception where Rodgers was targeting him on that crosser, but that wasn't MVS's fault. That was completely Rodgers' fault. Actually, when that play happened, that INT, I was on Twitter, and Aaron Nagler, the blogger, like right when that happened, I was reading, and he said that whenever there's basically a tell that the Packers have now, where whenever the offense gets blitzed, Rodgers looks for that crossing route, and that cornerback just jumped it. So it's like they're becoming predictable, and those outside little swing passes and stuff like that. The offense, the game plan was such a mess. I do not understand. I mean, this was a game to ground and pound it, and they didn't run it all that well, but they didn't run it that much either. They wanted to just chuck it all around, and it was windy, and it was just, I do not understand the game plan going into this. I don't.
Predictability will get you killed.
Yeah, and you'll get your butt whooped. So that was interesting, though, when I saw that. I was like, so they're sitting. MVS does, I do notice that Rodgers does he hits MVS on go routes and crossers. That's it. So if he's targeting him on a crosser, that is somebody jumping that, they're going to have to take a look at that, because that was like an eye opener right there. And then I just have Rodgers, and the offense looked bland, incredibly bland. The whole collective offense, particularly him. What else can you really say? I mean,
so what was he getting angry about, though?
Life. I don't know.
COVID.
I know what you're talking about. He was yelling,
yeah,
and dropping F-bombs all on his players, and it's like,
well, the play that I think you're thinking of, the receivers,
there were multiple.
Malik Taylor and Equanimeous St. Brown, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a free play.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They didn't even start off the line. They just
stood there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was fine, but he seemed like he was just.
Yeah, he was doing the old Aaron glare at the guy.
Yeah,
kind of
like
thing.
It was that there was too much of that. Like that one play, they had that coming, no question. I am with you on that, because like, guys, this is our thing. This is what we do.
Like all you got to do is go deep. It doesn't even matter. So yeah,
right. Yeah, you have to probably catch it. I'm going to throw it to you.
I mean, in this office, that'll get you benched. Yikes! You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you would think, but yeah, I hear you, Elliot. His body language was. Awful.
That's not leadership.
Agreed.
Oh, right. I agree. And his after game comments about the team's energy was befuddling. I don't know if he heard this, but he basically said that the team energy was good, especially on defense. And I'm like,
he's trolling us.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, the energy was good. Show me in your film study where your energy was good, please. I just want to see it.
In the film study. That's funny.
I'm showing up tomorrow.
Yeah. You see this post he's running right here? His energy is incredible. Look at the movie. Look at the movie. Put on that energy right there. Broke that guy's energy. No, I know what you mean. It's like I said. It's I'm looking through, and when I'm compiling the notes, I'm just like, there isn't much to say. Now Devontae, if we're going to take a trip to Negative Town, Devontae had one of his worst games since his second year, where he was awful. Now he should have had 2 touchdowns. He had one where Rodgers zipped it in there as a holding call, and it would have been a great pass and a great catch, but it got called off. And then he had that touchdown at the end where he had a high point and come down with it. That was a great throw, great catch, great everything. But he had at least 2 bad drops, and he had a fumble. He had a great catch, and then he barely had one arm on the ball, and the guy punched it out and turned it over. It was very un-Devontae-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fumble looked like he was trying to switch hands from his right to his left.
He was
it wasn't the time to do that.
Exactly. It's one thing to do that when there's nobody around you, but when you have a guy draped on you,
you corral the ball.
You got to know better than that. I mean, that shit's like rookie mistakes type stuff. So that was disappointing. And he also got hurt. Now he came back, but his ankle was kind of, apparently that's what got hurt. But
he had an ankle.
Yeah, really. Ankle.
And that's when I typed it. That's when I typed in the chat. I said, he's got an ankle. I got two.
Right. It's only funny to me. I don't know why that will never stop being funny. That'll never stop being funny, and it's not funny to anybody else. Yeah. It's just me. I laugh at stupid.
And here's a great setup for that. David Bakhtiari has a hand sore from signing that contract.
Oh,
$100 quintillion or $1 billion. What was it? $104 million for 4 years?
103.5 with $2 million in extra incentives that he could earn. So it could be worth up to a total of $105.5 million.
It's that half that just does it for me. Way too much.
I can make it 106 if you want.
He's the highest paid offensive lineman of all time, I heard.
It's
the biggest contract of any offensive lineman of all time.
That's true. And he's going to get $30 million before the end of the year.
Now he's an all-pro left tackle. He is. Look, I mean, Elliot, we know how much he loves the market.
Here it comes.
No, I mean, look, the market rate gets established. Whoever signs before, that's the benchmark. And so when I looked on Twitter when that news came out mid-game that he had signed that contract, I guess it was yesterday, they were like, oh, how can you pay him all that? And I'm like, that's just the way that stuff goes, man. It'd be one thing if he was a good left tackle, but he's an all-pro. He is like the best, if not second best in the league. He is, and that's the going rate. So,
but we're not going to be able to make improvements. This is the thing. We have to resign ourselves to the fact that we're just going to be able to hold what we got.
Well, it depends on how the contract is constructed. Goot made a comment after the game saying that this gives them flexibility. So I don't know what that all means, but somehow, some way, shape, or form, within the next 2 years, they have a lower cap figure than they currently have now. So I don't know.
But I thought the league was going to demand a lower cap anyway.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, are teams taking that into account? I mean, with these lofty quarterback contracts that happened the last few years, I think the teams like ours that indulged the quarterbacks might end up regretting that. There might be a pulling back of all of that in the next few years. And
indulge the quarterbacks.
Well,
that's a good name. That's a good name for a band.
It's not. It's
no,
really not.
I know it's not. It's just a weird phrase. So anytime I hear a weird phrase, I'm like, it's a good name for a band.
I know. I do the same thing.
But no, I agree with you. It's you wonder.
Well, they did. So I think Aaron Rodgers is worth it. But you got Kirk Cousins, and there's
Kirk Cousins. That might have been the worst quarterback contract in the history.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of indulgence, and hopefully that this curtails that a little bit. I feel like they were going a little off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks are like taking up like a third of the whole freaking salary cap, the way things are, and if not even more. And it's like, you can't build a team around that. It makes it damn near impossible. When you look at, it's interesting when you look at like Russell Wilson, the Seahawks. Obviously, they had a great defense when he was on his rookie deal. Then he signed a huge deal, and they had to and now they have become the Packers under Aaron Rodgers. Pretty good, but they're probably not going to get to another Super Bowl. Or if they do, it's going to be, stumble and get lucky like in 2010 kind of a thing.
Well, who else in the NFC would make it into the Super Bowl?
Not the Jaguars. That I do know.
That's a given.
Well, I'm setting the bar low and starting from there, right? Well, it is such a week-to-week league because, again, after this game happened, Seattle got whooped by the Rams, and Russell Wilson had a terrible game. Yeah. Now the Saints won, but Drew Brees got hurt. I don't know how bad it is, but he hurt his ribs.
He's got a rib.
Yeah, he's got a rib. It's like Adam and Eve. Ooh, he's got a rib. Oh my God, I don't even know where I'm going.
I'll take you off topic. I think the West beating themselves up.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's going to help the Packers. Like if they don't lose too many games going out, this is going to help the Packers because they have the tiebreaker over the Saints as long as they don't lose any more NFC games, and that'll help them. But let Seattle Arizona and the Rams.
Let them kick each other's
themselves.
butts every week. Yeah.
Let them beat the crap out of
That
each
is-
other, and we'll be fine.
I mean, Arizona, Kyler Murray had an unbelievable Hail Mary TD to beat the Bills at the end of the game. Looked Rodgers-esque. I don't know if you've seen it, Elliot. It's incredible. I just saw it.
Yeah. No.
It was
Yeah,
with
from
time
about the
expiring.
50-yard line. Just
Threw
threw
a
up a
50
bomb.
yard. I mean, he escaped pressure, ran over. It was just like Rodgers in 2015, where he was. Yeah, it was incredible. But they're an ascending team. He looks great, Kyler Murray. He looks like he's going to be great.
I do have kind of a fear that the Cowboys could come out on top of the NFC East. And
No!
And there'll be a playoff situation.
You said could.
And we lose to them.
And we lose.
And we'll lose on 4th and 26 or something.
Right.
And I'll just shoot myself into the sun at that point. I mean, God.
It is way too early to paint the picture black. Let's just be happy we're 7-2 at this point.
Well,
yeah, it is.
So it isn't it odd to be so successful in the NFL and to feel the way we all do? We all feel really lukewarm about it. Like I was watching the game at my brother's house. We were not feeling great about the game. Basically,
I wouldn't either. I almost walked away from it a couple times.
Well, we were kind of talking about other things even during parts of the game. He was putting albums on, so we didn't have to listen to Greg Jennings.
Oh God, that is Jennings. That's like the frickin'. It's not even the D team. It's like the F team.
So there was I forget which play. I'm like, what happened there? And I'm like, maybe we shouldn't have the music on. And then I heard Greg Jennings say something. I'm like, never mind. Put something on. Yep. And then the Nirvana went on.
It's a shame with Greg Jennings because obviously, I mean, when he was with the Packers, man, he was incredible. He was great.
He was great.
But ever since he left, it's just been the sound of a toilet flushing every time
that's a tough job. And I think it's become crystal clear how tough the job is because Tony Romo's the only one that's any good at it. And he's so good at it and everybody else is so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we hop on to the defense?
Was there anything?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Sir.
Can we just skip it?
It's in our contract.
Oh my God, we need to renegotiate.
I don't like this contract.
Is there flexibility in this contract?
There's complete flexibility. I'm already deeming it
breach of contract. That's what it is. I'm gonna institute force majeure. Anyway, so they were missing their top two cornerbacks, Packers, Jair Alexander and Kevin King, and quietly Kevin King is never playing. He had like a quad injury and he's been out for 4 games. It's like I told you before the game, Jeremy. I said I can't see the Packers re-signing him. He misses half the games. But they're gonna have to draft another cornerback high next year because I think it's a mistake to re-sign him because he can't stay healthy. When he's out there, he's pretty good. But he is never healthy.
Right, but that could actually come back to help them to bring him back on like a cheap, prove it 1-year deal where he would come.
Yeah, you do wonder how much interest there'd be in him from other teams.
I would imagine there's got to be no market because every team, if they're going to spend money, they want guys that are available. They don't want them missing half the games because then why would you give them all that money to do that? So
look at Christian Kirksey. He missed half his games. We wanted him. Ooh. No, I hear you. And I mean, this is part of that kind of give and take with how you build a team where if you hedge your bets, you're like, okay, you want to re-sign your own, but you're like, well, I can't afford this guy. He's not that good. I'm going to bring in a rookie, get a guy cheap, draft him. But the important thing I must note is that if you are going to move on, you have to draft well. That's important.
That helps.
And right now, Gutekunst is not drafting all that well. No. So, but obviously, so we had our top 2 cornerbacks out. That's not going to help. Having one out and Jair is basically an all-pro, and Kevin King is solid when he's out there. So, I guess it was good that the Jacksonville quarterback stunk because any other quarterback could have made hay, and like I said, probably would have blown us out. But that's the start of the defensive notes. The Jackson. I can't even remember that the rookie QB's his name, but it was
Jake
the second.
Newton.
Okay, second career start, right?
Yep.
And was he awful? I wouldn't say he's awful. I mean, he's a rookie on his second start with an awful team. It's like I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. So it's like I would say he played okay given the circumstances, but he missed some wide open guys without question. And I mean, the defense should have been getting pressure on him left, right, and center, and they couldn't do anything until the end. And then I have here defense can't stop the run. They weren't atrocious, but they weren't good. That's not going to improve. Nobody's walking through that door to improve their run defense. There's not going to be any magic player, and there's not going to be any big scheme change. So it is what it is. They're not going to, until they change personnel or coaching, they're not going to be good at stopping the run until that happens. So it is what it is. Now I put a side note here that, Kenny Clark, he's been hurt for basically half the year, but you wonder how healthy he still is though, because he's not playing well. Now is he playing bad? No, but he should be playing better, I guess is the best way to put it. But I mean, you're probably closer to what in the trenches of what you're seeing. I don't know what you're seeing out of Kenny Clark, but from what I can see when I do pay attention to him, he's kind of just there. And you need more than just there.
Well, you need more guys to help him be there too.
But you're paying him to be damn near an all-pro. He needs to make some plays too, right? It is kind of both.
But he's not Michael Jordan. He's not. He's not going to take over a defense. He's not going to just take over a game. He needs help. He's human, That'll never change until they actually get some help on the D line.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. He's going to get, since they don't fear anybody else, he's going to get double or triple teamed a lot.
There was a play third quarter where they ran the ball between the right guard or the left guard and the center, and they double teamed Lowry and just blew him off the ball. He was being pushed back, and it wasn't even pretty. So that tells.
Well, Lowry did bat down a pass. He had something,
and it was a big one too, because that could have been a touchdown.
That guy was wide open. Who he was throwing to. So yeah, speaking of overall energy, I have another specific side note here for Preston Smith.
He played today.
He showed up at the end.
At the end, but man, the first 3.5 quarters,
right,
were some of the worst I've seen him play since he's been here, if not the worst.
Right, it's like your head in the frame there of your video.
Yeah, I was actually just like I was taking a step back, getting ready to discuss this awful topic. Yeah, really. Nice.
You got a Smith jersey right there. Which Smith is that?
That's Preston Smith, right? Your jersey? Or no, that's Zadarius. It's 55, not 91. Yep. Yeah, sorry. I was getting ready to discuss Preston Smith. He looks like he's loafing all the time. He's taken out of plays so easy. He's never really around the ball. He seems like he's lost a step. It's just all these things. And then he did make a couple plays at the end. So I'll give credit where credit's due, but on the whole, not good.
This was his scouting report when he was in Washington. I can't say I'm surprised. I am surprised that he can go from a 12.5 sack season or 12 sack season to what is he at, a sack and a half now, midway through.
I don't even know. Know.
He was at a half a sack coming into the game. Then he had a one at the second to last play, I think. Or was it the last play? He had a sack. But yeah, you're totally right. His lack of energy, and I think that one play where the rookie running back snuck it outside of the left tackle, and he just sucked himself in and left a gaping hole.
He fails to set the edge many
his
times.
Gap contained was really piss poor on that play, but yeah, you're right. But like I said, if you go back to his draft analogy that scouts wrote up on him, they were questioning his focus and his energy. So this is not anything that should be new to anybody.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean. I said in the chat that they should just give all his snaps to Rashawn Gary, and then you kind of gently reminded me that Gary hasn't done much, which is kind of true. And then, but Gary did have a sack at the end that was very well timed. But look, when it does come to Gary, and again, credit where credit's due, he did make a play later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's the 12th overall pick. He's a season and a half in. Is he a bust? No. Is he a disappointment? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Do you remember
we talk about
camp?
help. We talk about help on the defensive line, how they need it, and the 12th overall pick in a draft, you think would be nice.
But let's think about this. I mean, I know this whole training camp was a different scenario, but all that everybody was talking about, and especially the Packers, was how Rashawn Gary was the standout in training camp.
Yep.
I'm still waiting.
He has not translated that to games.
No,
he's not. And again, I don't know what to say. You know, it's the guy feels like he was insanely overdrafted. He's probably, but I mean, you're stuck with him. You know, if he, they say the biggest time to jump, if you are going to jump, is year 1 to year 2, right? Typically,
usually, yep.
I mean, sometimes people, some guy like Devontae Adams, he blossomed after. I mean, he was injured a lot of that second season, but and you don't want to just give up on a guy. But again, when you go to where some of these guys are drafted, he wasn't drafted 30, he was drafted 12. Yeah. The guy was damn near a top 10 pick, and they're just. It goes back to that comment about Goody that he's whiffing on way too many guys, man.
Yeah, Darnell Savage is another one. You know,
yeah, they traded up in the first for him, and he's been lousy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you sign your own and you extend guys that you've drafted and cultivated, that's great. But you also have to draft well. It's a very, very, very key component there. And man, I don't know. So, I mean, not much else to say there. It kind of is what it is, but it's hurting us. Not having Gary or Preston Smith play average is hurting us. Amos had that. He had kind of a gift. Adrian Amos, safety. He had kind of a gift interception. Yeah. One of his guys fell down. But I would say the past few games he's come on. He's playing pretty well. He's easily the best safety. So I guess it's good to see a guy who's playing somewhat more solid and consistent.
Who would ever think that you saying that made me think of this. Who would ever think that our secondary would be completely depleted with all that we invested through the draft? Think about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you say depleted because of injury or because of draft misses or both or what?
Misses in both. Yeah.
I mean, Kevin King and Jair Alexander, that hurts.
No doubt.
It does, but
let's go down the list of guys. I mean, we don't have to go down.
Let's do it.
Demarius Randall, Quentin Rollins.
Well, that's Ted. We're on Goody, but yes. Well, 2015 draft was. I'll use it again. Shoot it into the sun.
But those guys should be players for us. That's why
they're out of the league.
So high.
Yeah, they should be playing.
And then let's go to Goody. Well, even before that, Josh Jackson. Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson. That was Goody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second round pick on Josh Jackson. I'm just not seeing it. And
apparently he was a ball hawk in college. I don't know.
He was. He was. You watch. You turn his game film on at Iowa, and you watch his game film now. You see two different players. It's not even.
What was it? Did he play straight up like cornerback, or was he a safety?
No, he's a corner.
Because when you look at him, he looks like a safety.
Yeah, he does. Body.
And he moves. I mean, he's not quite as fast, but he's bigger. He just looks like that, and you almost wonder why they're not experimenting with that. But whatever. And you wonder with King potentially not coming back, if they're really going to, at some point, going to try and see, we got to get Josh Jackson and see what he can do. And I mean, has he been better this year? Yeah. Has he been markedly better? No. That's about all you can say, Yeah. I don't know. I mean, today, I think the the general consensus of it was everything today. It wasn't just the defense; it was the offensive defense, and now we're about to get into the special teams. Easily the worst game of the year for special teams. J.K. Scott, they gave up a punt return for a touchdown. One of the easiest punt returns for a touchdown you'll ever see. He hit a line drive right at the guy who already had 3 returns for a touchdown, I think, this year, and he line drived it right to him so fast that he didn't have anybody within 20 yards. And look, everybody was giving him crap, J.K. Scott, because he got a meme generated by how poor his attempt was. I'm like, any punter's going to look that bad.
Right.
Sorry. I mean, he looked bad, but it's like, that's going to happen. The bigger thing is don't launch a line drive right at the guy. And with J.K. Scott, do you think it's possible he might not be back next year?
Oh, he'll be here.
Right.
It's not because he's greatly outperforming, but he's just average.
He is. And again, I'm going by draft status.
Oh.
He was a punter drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah.
And he punts great when the conditions are great, punts poor when the conditions are poor. Mm-hmm. And we play our games, for the most part, in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And he can't punt in Green Bay, Wisconsin in the winter. He's not good. He had, at a time today when they really needed a good punt, he hit a shank. Did you see that at the end? Now, we won, but it was like, that was the worst time to hit a shank, and he hit a shank.
So are you saying that we need to go back and play 2 games in Milwaukee and go south?
Nice. Not far enough south.
Okay.
But that did Goody drafted him, right? That was 2018?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of these, trading up for a frickin' punter.
I couldn't believe that.
And he's got a booming leg if he was playing in Florida. But
he's great most of the time, honestly.
But I don't know about great. He's definitely solid. He's solid most of the time.
But when it gets
compared to who though? I mean, like I
Ray Guy.
Well, I pay attention to I've been paying
like a Hall of Fame punter.
I don't need right. I know this is just it, right? Like we have so many other needs. Like what really was this the top?
I know
thing? It wasn't.
We are I agree, but we are talking about a punter. But the bigger thing is they spent a draft pick on him.
I know.
Almost every punter is a street free agent or 7th round pick, highest.
Well, I mean, to Andy's point, statistically this year. His 46 yards per punt average is 15th in the league. His net of 40 yards is 23rd. His long of 62 is 14th. But the one thing that really defines a punter is how many punts he can get inside the 20.
Right.
And he's at 8, which is 22nd in the league. So
that's
wow.
Terrible. That's not good.
But he's only at 22 punts, so
that's but at the same time it's
right, that's true.
So he doesn't have the volume that some of these other guys have.
But it's not a good trend either.
But in the volume that we've seen, it's been kind of slowly going downhill.
Were we expecting to have to punt a lot? Like what was the idea here? I don't follow.
No, you're right. I mean, yeah, but look, I keep going back to if he was a guy that they picked up off the street or he was a 7th round pick, that's one thing. But when you spend a 5th round pick on a punter, okay, don't swear. That SOB better be all pro.
Yeah, I felt like he was better than that. I guess. I mean, I don't see every punt on every team, so okay.
He's no Pat McAfee. There you go. Okay. Actually, Pat McAfee was the all-decade team according to Pro Football Focus from 2010. Really? Or he was like the best punter for like a decade. Apparently, according to them. But anyway, special teams had a crummy day, and I got Tyler Irvin got hurt again.
He's got a rib.
I have nothing to say to that, sir.
That's good. That's good.
So that's pretty much what I got. Look, I mean, a win. I'll take an ugly win over a game where we looked fantastic but lost, right? I'll still take that 99 times out of 100, 100 times out of 100. But the trends, I keep going back to, if I just want to button it up, this team looks like it could go to the playoffs, but it's going to get housed by some team in the playoffs, obliterated by some team in the playoffs before Super Bowl. That's what it looks like right now. I could see a repeat of where we play a good defense. We cannot move the ball on offense, and our defense folds like a cheap suit. It just seems like it's inevitable, is what it looks like right now.
I couldn't disagree anymore. But
you couldn't disagree anymore.
I couldn't disagree anymore.
Let's hear it.
No, I could. I agree with you. I guess I'll term it this way. Wins don't have to be pretty, but when have they looked championship caliber in any of these 9 games?
That is fair. I mean, they've looked pretty darn good in some games, but also they look pretty good against the 49ers, but the 49ers, that was like their
practice squad
team. That was like their practice squad.
Okay.
In other games, they've looked good, but yeah, they really. And in a way, you could say, okay, they haven't put together a complete game yet, which, you want to be peaking at the right time, late in the season, yada, yada, yada. But still, there's nothing that leads me to believe that's going to happen.
And I just try to think back through these 9 games. Was there any point in any of these games where I thought they were Super Bowl worthy? I haven't felt that yet.
The best game, I think, of the season.
Well, New Orleans.
I think that's a signature win of the season. Mm-hmm. And that might be the signature win of LaFleur's coaching career thus far too. But yeah, it's not like I've left a game thinking, man, they are the team to beat. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, they're pretty good.
And the weird thing about that, as we say that right now, they're the number one. If the season ended today, I know this is all theoretical.
They're number one seed.
They're number one seed in the NFC.
Now, and is that because? So, what is the Tampa Bay's record?
7-3, but they were swept by the Saints, so the Saints obviously will have a tiebreaker over them, unless they have more losses in Tampa. But
and they lost to the Bears too, right? Swept by the Saints, lost to the Bears.
Yes.
Tampa Bay. Okay.
Yeah, that's when Tom Brady didn't know it was 4th down.
Man, I'll tell you what. Though, if we
it's senility. It's
senility. Oh, I like it. Good Lord. Senility. That's good. Oh, man. It's like if we were completely healthy, and we had to play Tampa Bay again, I can't see us beating them. I don't think we'd lose 38 to 10?
Yeah.
But I can't see us.
It'd be 37-11 next time.
Man, we are a bunch of comedians.
Next week we got the Colts. You guys want to make predictions? You got more to say about this?
Is that at home or on the road?
No, that's
on the road at Colts.
Indy's not a bad team.
They just kicked the out of the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football.
And I'm telling you, man, Phillip Rivers destroys us when he plays us. Any veteran. Do you remember what he did to us last year against the Chargers?
No, I don't. I threw that out of my memory.
All right, I'll go first. Because this sounds like it's going to be bad. So I'm going to go first. Set the tone. 22-21 Packers.
Nice.
Wow.
You know what? I mean, I think they could win. I have to set this up.
This is one I don't have good feelings about. But
I don't really either. And it's mostly because it's Phillip Rivers. I don't trust this defense one iota against him. I think he could shred us. Now, I will say a couple things, and I really want to think this one out. We're going to get a couple players back. Are we getting Lazard back next week?
That's the rumor.
So we'll get Lazard. We got Bakhtiari back today. We should get our cornerbacks. I don't know about Kevin King, but Jair Alexander should be coming back. Who else am I missing? I think that's about it. But I mean, getting Lazard. I don't think we're going to put up 30. I normally have been saying the Packers will put up 30 and everything. I think it's going to be in the 20s, But I could see us. Here's the thing. I'm going to say 27-24 Packers.
Okay.
I want to pick my Packers, but Phillip Rivers scares me.
Yeah.
He scares me. He's the guy that scares me.
You know what, though? But this shouldn't scare anybody. You have been very positive at the end here, and I think that's a good trend going forward.
I know it sounds.
I do too.
Speaking of Phillip Rivers, have you seen his throwing motion?
Oh, it's ugly.
It is so odd.
Pushing the ball.
It's like he's like this. He goes.
Yeah.
He pushes the ball.
It is such a weird, half sidearm.
Do that one more
time. Does he have an
time.
injury that's causing that?
He has 9 kids.
Is he carrying them while he's throwing the ball?
Did you see that graphic I put up where they're like number of kids at the last game, and it was like Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, 009. Yeah.
Wow.
He takes the be fruitful and multiply and really believes in it. I had to say that.
God. We've gone off the deep end.
I remember after last year's game against the Chargers, when he was obviously with San Diego, he was like, that was when he straight up said, he goes, that defense, our defense was so vanilla. He's like, he'd come up to the line, he'd see what they're going to do. He's like, all right, you're going to do that. I'm going to do this. And in the press conference, he said that. And I'm going.
Yeah. So, I always look at every game as, a game of matchups, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. That's going to be a detriment.
You would hope that with our Smiths we could do something, but they're not doing anything.
Well, they have one offensive lineman that can handle Kenny Clark all by himself, and his name is Quentin Nelson. Remember that name? All pro guard. I don't feel confident just based off of the matchup. They don't have a real good rushing attack, but their offensive line against ours, I see that being a huge drawback to our chances.
Who do they got for receivers?
T.Y. Hilton. Shoot, I forgot.
They have a free agent there from somewhere, I want to say.
Well, that's where Devin Funchess came from.
Okay.
They have Michael Pittman, a rookie. And there's somebody else I'm missing. Yeah, I apologize, but
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, they're okay. They kind of remind me of us, just
right.
Yeah. What's their record?
6-3.
Right.
They just came off
equivalent.
Right, and they just came off of beating Tennessee in Nashville, and did it quite handedly. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
This is just a bad matchup for the Packers. Defensively, they're one of the top defenses. They have a really good front seven. It's going to be Indianapolis 33, Packers 20.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Basically a blowout. Yeah.
I'm rooting for 28-27. Or is it 22-21? I'm sorry.
Did you pick the Packers 22-21, Elliot, or was?
Yeah, he did. He did.
I was like, I'm rooting for 22-21. Indianapolis.
Wow.
No, I
feel like it's a toss up. I do.
I do in a way.
But a toss up can go the other way too.
Sure.
Yeah, it's who the hell knows? It's like they could show up when we shellac them. They shellac us. It's like
today the matchup we should have been able to handle Jacksonville handily, right?
Yes.
But we barely squeaked by. But we did win. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It is weird. I mean, like you said we're the number 1 seed in the NFC, and we're like, it's all over.
It's all over.
And we're the number 1 seed.
And you know what? For people that are listening to us from other teams, I mean, they're gonna think, God, you guys are spoiled. Seriously.
And I'm going to say, yes, so what?
But that's what happens when you're 13-time world champions. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good ain't good enough.
There you go.
Well, it's not. And so what's frustrating is I do think that there's been too much of an acceptance of that.
Yeah.
Good is it good is the enemy of great, or what is that phrase?
Yes, the perfect is the enemy of the good. The perfect is the enemy of the good.
I was way off. Good is the enemy of great.
But I don't view that. This is not that kind of situation. There's an acceptance of mediocrity that can be a death spiral. And we always joke about the Patriots, and they, I understand they're having struggles this season, but we don't view that as a long-term prognosis. I don't. They don't have a culture of mediocrity, and
no, that's a good point. I mean, I want to make sure it's the right word. Is it a culture of mediocrity, or is it a culture of because I don't think we're mediocre. It's just complacency. I think might be a better word.
I feel pretty strongly that the socialist model of the Green Bay Packers is a culture of mediocrity.
Socialist model.
Wow.
Well, it is, isn't it? So hear me out though. We have an organization that's run by middle management. We don't have something that's run by somebody who my name's on the stadium, my name's on the door. There's no pride. It's middle management, so it's all about like feelings and getting along and massages and who knows what, right? There's a culture of mediocrity, and I feel like LaFleur is a good injection of maybe something to rile that up a little bit, but I don't know that it's enough to overcome what's above him.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I know you're kind of half joking, but
yeah, I am. Yeah.
But kind of, but there's the truth.
No, that's what I say, half joking, but I think that one thing that, and I don't know if it's just the Packers or if it's other teams. You got to get the feeling it's other teams too, in some respects, where you get so insular and so insulated with your own way of doing things. Where, look at, for instance, when their GM search. I'll go. I'm never going to back off that they settled for Gutekunst. They didn't go out and get their guy. Right. They settled for a guy who was in-house, who McCarthy, when it was all coming around,
they can get along with.
They can get along with, and it is that kind of thing. Like, and Jeremy, I'm sure you'll kind of, I would assume you'll agree with this. Like when Ron Wolf came, they brought a guy from the outside, pulled him in. Now Harlan was an inside guy with the Packers, but he was smart enough to know we need not a guy in the periphery outside. We need a guy way on the outside.
It doesn't have to be an outsider. It needs to be somebody who's willing to ruffle feathers.
Well, outside of the clique and
outside of the echo chamber.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
There's too much of that. So you
now
mentioned,
there's a lot of other teams that do that.
Who are you saying in training camp was everybody was all hot on?
Rashawn
I feel
Gary.
Like it's that. Yes, Rashawn Gary. So you know what? They probably said that because he was, showing some energy in practice, and then he was like, just getting along with everybody. That's not what we need. We need somebody that is a jerk but makes the plays.
That would be something.
Maybe Rashawn Gary was giving Preston Smith a massage in training camp.
This is the kind of thing that I think that they feel is important.
Do you remember massages? Yes. No, I know. I know.
That was the whole McCarthy thing. But I feel like this is a plague that is just it's in the organization.
I think a lot of teams are like that, though.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm talking in terms of being insular and not looking outside and getting comfortable. I mean, look no further than the Washington Redskins. Man, you read about that team. Yeah. Talk about Daniel Snyder might be the worst owner in the history of the sport. And it's like the guys he surrounds him with are nothing but cronies and buddies. Now,
right.
That's one team. But look at the Jerry Joneses of the Cowboys, and it's like, it's all just.
But just think about what Elliott's saying. I mean, and I definitely agree with it because this organization is happy to be competing for the Super Bowl every year. They're not happy going to the Super Bowl more often than not. You know what I mean?
And what I'm saying, I'm not necessarily defending it. I'm just saying I don't think we're like the only one. It permeates other areas.
The difference though is, and I understand the Super Bowl or bust culture can be a problem too, because you can put all your pieces on this year. You could be Grandpa Bay, and it may not go anywhere, right?
Senility, I love that.
Right, but the thing is, if you do that too many years in a row where you have a losing culture or this culture of mediocrity, the value of your franchise goes down, and some other owner is going to want to come in and buy it off of you and turn it around. That's not going to last, and that's not something that can happen here. So we have this stasis of mediocrity that can never change. We are different than everywhere else.
No, you're right. It is. I mean, the Packers they're set up. They're the only way. So they're the only team that's set up that way.
Yeah. So this is a poison that we have to fight. That other teams.
We need it. We need an owner.
Yeah. Well, we have to recognize that about ourselves. That by not having an owner, this is something that can happen, and we have to fight it. We have to know that this is a problem that can happen, and we have to fight it. And I don't think they're fighting it.
That's interesting, and it goes back. That's interesting. It's kind of like it's the age-old thing too, where it's like. You have to admit you have a problem before you can deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's truth in that. To Elliot's point, you need somebody from within that's going to point out the problem. Is that happening?
Yeah.
Right. And I really felt like that might have been LaFleur, and maybe it still is. You know what? Maybe like where sky is falling, and maybe this is a Super Bowl year, and we're going to feel really stupid for saying these things. That will be awesome.
Now I'll say this.
So happy to do that. I will. If I need to, do something to my, if I need to shave my head or paint myself blue, whatever.
Give yourself a massage.
Whoa.
Elliot, you didn't see that coming. He's dying. No, the comment about LaFleur though, I think is very good though, because from what I've seen and heard of him, he doesn't take no BS, and he calls it like he sees it, and he does take account, and I do like that. Now, again, talk is cheap at some point. You can't get up there 8 times a year going, I don't know where our energy was. You gotta, at some point, the buck stops there. So I think I do like what I'm seeing from LaFleur.
You can become a victim of success. If you squeak out a win, then that papers over some problems, right?
The interesting thing with LaFleur,
worry about that.
The biggest anomaly with LaFleur thus far to me is that he kept petting around. After that game, after the NFC Championship game, I was like, there is no way Pettin's coming back. I mean, that was immediately after basically that night, if not the next day. I was like, there's no way he's coming back. Mostly because it wasn't his guy. I was like, after that performance, this isn't even his guy. He's gone. And when he brought it back, I'm like, what?
I don't think they're asking these tough questions, whereas...
Or he's getting overruled by the guys we don't want to overrule. They got that stupid 3-part trifecta.
Right.
I would not be surprised one bit if LaFleur barged into Murphy's office and was like, Pettin got to go. And Goody and LaFleur are sitting there with their legs up going, I don't know about that. And then it was like,
well, it is hard. It is hard
2-1. He's staying.
It's hard to go in with a clean house mentality when you do make it, a breath from the Super Bowl, right?
But when you get your pants pulled down in front of everybody, and you have an all-time bad loss,
But see, the Packers did not classify that loss as a pants down loss. If you listen to everything that they said after the season, they did not say that loss kind of set this organization into a new direction. They were just stay the course.
I agree. Well, I agree with that. I'll say this.
Right.
You're right. They did say, and this is where I'll say this to get to that, but they didn't do anything to improve the team after they said that. And that was where it was like, it's all fine and dandy to have the season-ending press conference and do all this and be like, "Look, it was a defeat and blah blah blah." But I was like, "Okay, they're going to bring in some reinforcements." Then they didn't, and then I'm kind of like, I mean, they literally didn't.
No.
They drafted
quadrilateral.
Their first three draft picks were third stringers.
Well, and that's why the offseason is a time that you have to make those moves because you have the ability to. Now, before the trade deadline happened, they were in the market with the Giants lead defensive lineman, Dalvin Tomlinson, big dude, and also Will Fuller. Now, it sounds like they offered them probably like a 4th round draft pick in return for them. So it's not like, if these rumors are true, it's not like they aren't trying to improve, but they're doing it at the wrong time. Because in the offseason, you don't have to give up draft picks to bring guys in. You just have to give up money. And that's a lot easier than the draft pick for the Packers.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Now, I will say, too, what would Bill Hicks say about this mess?
He would just smoke another.
My new favorite shirt. Elliot, I was telling you, I mean, I designed and I got these printed up, baby.
You designed that?
You're damn right I did.
Well, I want one.
Well, maybe I'll get you one.
Oh, you got one?
No, I got 12.
Oh, well, yeah. Put them on your store. I'll buy some.
On my store. This isn't going on Creature of the Wheel, buddy, but no,
Whatever.
actually, I got yeah, they're screen printed. This isn't like direct print.
Yeah,
right?
nice. Okay.
But no, I'm going to get them. They're gag gifts, going to basically for Christmas for friends and family. But maybe you guys can get one. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, don't break anything.
I'm gonna get. Oh God, you're gonna love this. I'm gonna get one that has a picture of Elliot's face, and it says, "What would the free market do?"
It would fire Mason Crosby.
Whoa!
Could you? No, seriously. I mean, could you imagine if like we're like in normal times?
It's fine.
If we like
Mason Crosby's a good guy.
I know we met for coffee or something, and I walked in wearing a shirt like that, going like to meet one of you guys. My God,
I've bought 100 of those.
Oh, humor always wins, right? It always wins.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
That's an interesting topic at the end.
I kind of derailed things with my my rant against the Packers quadrilateral of authority, but like that whole ownership structure, I think it works against us now, and I feel like this is a pain point for the future because there's no accountability structure, and it's scary.
That's an interesting. I hadn't quite looked at it. That like I've kind of skimmed. But I haven't really deep.
I built my philosophy around your teachings.
What would Bill Hicks do?
The quadrilateral of authority.
Well, and that is a great point. But like, if you think about who's going to hold the team accountable, it's the board of directors. Who are the board of directors? The Olageniacs of the community?
Right. It's just
he's already set. I mean, he doesn't care.
None of them care.
You know. So you're right about that. You're totally right about that.
And they're not accountable to anyone.
Do you guys know?
So
yeah.
So, like, real quick, going back to again, like when Ron
it's like
got
the Kremlin, literally.
Yeah. well, Harlan. So they've always had the own. So like Harlan.
Yeah.
Harlan, right?
Yeah.
What was the breaking point? I mean, it was losing, but it was like they hired Harlan, and then Harlan gets Wolf, right?
Yeah.
And who was on the board of directors? Because it's like, I guess the board of directors at some point kind of acquiesced, to make that happen, to allow Harlan to do, to have those dominoes fall.
They would rather win than lose, but they're okay with losing.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't rather win? So, like, you're saying, like, oh, they acquiesced and let them win. No, like, they're going to let good things happen, but, like, they're not going to push that.
I guess what I'm saying is like when they were mired in mediocrity in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
mediocrity.
Obviously,
that was lucky.
Okay, when they were mired in badness.
Okay, thank you.
But obviously, I'm sure they wanted to win, and if you win, you make more money. So even if it's one of those kind of things at play, it's like,
right.
But they put up with it for 20 years, and you're like, 20 years,
right?
what?
And that's the one thing that sets them apart is even when they were losing in the 80s, they were still filling up Lambeau. Where in other stadiums, fan attendance decreases. Here they don't.
Right.
So, like Elliot said, there's another extenuating circumstance that is holding this team back.
Cult.
And the other things that they've done as an organization is they've invested into the district, the Titletown district. So the Packers as an organization, they're going to be profitable. They're good. They're fine.
Yep.
So
I like Titletown.
So they don't care. Like there's not this urgency at all. There's no urgency. There's no urgency.
That's a good point. Like they're just happy to be competitive and always be there.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. No doubt.
And as long as
I would love to be a fly on the wall, like honestly, like.
But there are some things that it's like I've been watching the show about East Germany, and it's like there's all these things that they know are true, but they don't say. They like wink and nod.
Wait, you're talking East Germany when it was communist?
Yeah. Well, when it was East Germany, yeah. And they all know these things are true, but they can't say them, right? And I feel like there's that, right? That nobody on the board of directors is going to be like, how we're like all fine with not winning. They're not gonna say that at a board meeting. This is not a conversation.
This is where, like I said, it is kind of that thin red line, because I mean they are winning, but they're not winning championships, and they're kind of they're getting to that crest, and they're cresting out at the
right. We're at the bottom of the top.
Yes. What I was gonna say is it almost feels like of late that their goal is
the Nickelback of the league.
No, their goal. Oh man, terrible.
Oh my god.
Go get a massage.
Yeah, go get
a massage.
It's so frustrating. Massage. It's so frustrating.
No, but it feels
like
a
win like today, it does not feel good. And maybe you guys are rubbing off on me, but
well, listen to this. It feels like it's like their goal is the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It's like the bar is set a few notches low, and they're like, maybe one out of 10 will get really, really lucky.
Right. Well, that's it right there. As long as they're in the playoffs, they always have a chance.
Man,
right.
No, you're right, because when 2010 happened and they went on their there's a sports radio guy in Milwaukee, Sparky, Jeremy Pfeiffer, but he calls it the magic carpet ride of 2010.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, when that happened, you're like, well, looking
every
back,
week it's like what?
But back then that you're like, no way, because they're like, after 2010, you're like, this team's stacked. The 2011 happens, they're 15-1,
right?
And then it just precipitously, and you're like, and looking back now, you're like, they just got lightning in a bottle. That's what they did.
Yeah.
I don't think this team was ever ripe for a dynasty.
No.
And we thought after 2010, and they won their first 10 games or whatever.
We're like, this is the next 10 years.
Exactly. You're like, we're the Patriots now.
Yeah. Ooh. Better settle into our Super Bowl seats, guys.
All right. No, that's an interesting discussion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To be continued. Hopefully over another close win next week.
Oh God, a win! I still want to win.
I just want to win.
No.
I do too.
What would Bill Hicks say? He would say, "Go Pack, go."
Go Pack, go.
Okay. Go Pack, go.
Podcast.
Chair.
I know, right?